All right, so I went to one of my favorite stores. It's Alternative Sales, and they're like a commercial restaurant supply chain, and the stuff is wicked cheap. Like you see the bits and pieces that I have here. I think these are $6 a piece. They're strainers. Actually, they weren't even that much, because everything came to 15 bucks. It's 2 strainers, 2 lids, these 2 things. Yeah, I think they're like 4 1/4 a piece. My thoughts. I want to make chain guards for that, so I'm looking at like these 2 guys where you can kind of still see through them and then see the chains underneath, but I got to try to make it so that they have a guard that goes around them too. So I'm going to try to heat these up and kind of bend them around so it'll come up off of it, and see if I can go cover the actual chains top and bottom. We'll see how that works out. I grabbed these 2. There's actually 2 sets of each. One's solid and one's got holes in it. And I figure if I cut the handles off and I put them together, something like that, and those can be air cleaners. Punch a hole in the backside. So picture that like that with the other half on it, and they'll be my air cleaners. One there and one there. And I wasn't quite sure. I was thinking that I could have used these blanks maybe for it, or you know, even that matter in the back side of it for some kind of support if I punch the center holes out. If not, they're going to just go to my stash. I think they're $1.25 a piece, but nice little stainless pieces for making something in the future. And hopefully my other gas tank comes today. So I'm going to start with trying to get some of the covers and bits and pieces into some kind of shape. So I'm going to continue on with that. Alright, so I got them bent up and just kind of sitting on there, but you get the idea. It's going to be something like that. And there's enough clearance to clear the pedal. So that should be good. I just got to come up with some bracketry now to make it attach to the plate behind it. So I'm going to get started on that. Alright, no, it's not staying like that. It's the guard. Was tacked together, and I put it up there and spaced it around where you see the blue tape and the little blocks, just to try to keep it where I want it. And then I just started building off of that, and I used of course I have a box of utensils over there, so I just came off the hardware for the motor and bent them across, heat them up and bent them to where I needed them, and tacked them in 4 places. So the garter's now pretty good. You know, of course, you know, everything's just tacked. It'll get welded better when I take it back off, but you get the general idea. So I'm going to take a cutting wheel and we can cut off the ends of these utensils and go find something else to get into. And I chopped the handles off of those 2 spoons, and these would be my 2 halves that go together, something like that. And I figure I can make them probably like an offset. Whoops, I lost it. You knew that was going to happen. Let's try that one more time. Alright, so that'll be our cartridge, and then we'll have our filter material in there. Kind of looks like a muffler too, doesn't it? And then figure put it right about there. I can make it offset so that it sits a little taller. And exhaust is a little close on the back side, but so be it. It is what it is. Alright, so I'm going to try to figure out some kind of way to clamp them together. So I'm thinking a band clamp, but I'm going to have to take the band clamp and run down the center of it with a chisel so that it has a, you know, that taper on there. So I'm going to go try working on that. Alright, that was the idea, and that's where it's supposed to go, but the clamp looks like absolute horseshit, so I'm going to try a different way. I'm going to try wrapping around a piece of pipe and hammering the edge over on one side so I can flip it over and do the same. Alright, so beating that around the pipe did not work. I tried heating it and tapping it, and the clamp kept moving when you heating it because it was stretching out. So I abandoned that idea and went with just kind of drilling right through both pieces. You can see the holes on the other side there. And there was copper standoffs in the center of it to, you know, so it doesn't keep crushing down on itself. The only problem is, you know, they're both the same kind of shape, so one wants to rack over the other. both have that lip on there. So what I'm going to do is on this one, I can still do it on that one when I take it apart. What I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to take them and take one and hammer it down so that it's flat, so one will kind of cup into the other one, and I'll see how that works for me. And then just duplicate that same setup for back here, and that'll give us our 2 air cleaners. And again, when I take it apart, I just have to fill it with air cleaner material that I have. All right, let me see if we can get this one done. All right, so I got those 2 kind of squared away, and what I ended up doing was hammering down the lip on one of them so it kind of wants to fit in the other, instead of yeah, trying to catch them both on the same lip at the same time. So when I take this one apart, I'll do the same thing. I'll just hammer that lip down. But for now, I'll just leave them in their mocked up positions. Like, I knew that exhaust was going to be close. Oh well. Preheat. Exhaust preheat. That's some on this side. But again, I knew I didn't have much room to work with to try to get the exhaust out of one motor and the intake into the other one. Worst case scenario is I could always make a little cam or something that I can kind of steer them maybe uphill a little bit, but I actually think it'll be fine. I don't think it's going to really hurt anything. So I think now I want to play with the gas tanks. So I think that might be my next venture. And again, I have now 2 of the same, and they're going to go 1 on each side. And without further ado, let's get on that. Alright, it's the next day, and of course I forgot where I left off on you guys, so we'll just pick it up from talking about the strainers are done for the covers, the air cleaners are done, and moved on to the gas tank. I think that's where we were. And try to get a place for them. Right now I have 2 forks kind of crisscrossing for a saddle in it. Ground down the hardware that was hanging off the top, and I want to try to come up with a crown to fill in the gap in between it. So I cut out a piece of I think this is 18 gauge, and you get the idea. That's gonna roughly wrap like there, and then the other tank will go on the other side. And I may or may not just cover that whole thing with leather afterwards. We'll see when I get it together, but right now I'm gonna work on cleaning some of that paint off, get this sucker tacked into place, and see about laying the other tank on there, and see how everything fits together. I'm thinking something like that. So that'll be the twin tanks with the piece of metal wrapped in between it to try to give it some kind of unison to it, you know. Still have to tap down each side and kind of wrap the back of the frame yet with it. Probably what I should have done. I probably still can. I don't know. Maybe I should have cut it like that and tapered it down. Alright, I'm going to continue on. Phone's ringing. So I got a piece of that leather off. I just kind of want to lay that out there and get an idea what that was going to look like. I know it's not pushed down, but kind of gives the idea or the illusion that I kind of wanted to go for. Something like that, and then have it wrap around the frame and just go straight on down to kind of like tie it all together on the top. But we'll see if I end up using that or not. So maybe, maybe not. I think I'm going to now jump over to this has been on my mind, the drive for the rear wheel. And the other day I went and I just grabbed the pulley on the other side, and I could turn it, and you could turn it by hand, let's put it that way. Unless you put pressure right here. This is like the sweet spot on pretty much any kind of drive, is you want to your one that has the power on it, you want to tuck in right about here, and it actually ends up it pulls itself around the wheel. You ever watching Deadliest Catch where they run the rope, the line around for the traps through that block and tackle? That's pretty much what they're doing. They'll wrap it right around, and once it gets to a certain point, it just hugs itself right on it and pulls itself through. So I think that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on some kind of setup that I can tuck in right here and have it crank up on the belt, and it could also probably double as a possibly some alignment if I can make it so it, you know, it shifts from side to side. I could steer the belt with it a little bit, and if I slot it, I could probably make it so that yeah, I could use it for the tensioner of the rear belt too, instead of relying on where the rear wheel is. So all right, let me just go see what I can come up with. Spider-Man gave his life to donate some skateboard wheels. I figure grab these two guys. I'll make an axle for them. I figure maybe I can kind of try to come right up in there, come probably off this bottom tube right here, some kind of post and stud setup. So let's see what I can find. Alright, so I have skateboard wheels, and that nut fits on that shaft. I'm going to weld, straighten the wrench, heat it up, straighten it, weld the nut to it, and then that I can move it wherever I want, position from left to right. And then we're going to put a wheel on each side of it and make that the pivot point down there, but I haven't figured that out yet, so we'll get that part done first though. Alright, so I'm settling for this right now. The spacer, or collar, is through the frame. It's tight on this side and it's got a little bit of play. See the line around it? Like a little bit of fudge factor, I can kind of move it. But I want to be able to flip the bike around and stick the drill on it and see how this is for tracking, and I want to fudge it to be as close as it can be before I tack that. And then I could always heat up the wrench itself again and tweak it however I want, but I want to get it close. And that's kind of the bite that I'm looking for right there. Maybe a little further, you know. Oh, probably about another ½ inch or so. Should be good. So I'm calling it a night. I'm gonna wrap it up. Stuck the chain guard on there just for shits and giggles. Get an idea what it will look like. It's way low, but you can kind of get the idea. Have a good line going down, kind of matching the top rail. I think it kind of makes it look lower. I'll get chopped right here. Getting there. This takes a while. You end up staring at it more than you do working on it. Just try to figure out kind of what fits where. Keep like the future stuff that you're still have to add in mind. I'm not trying to figure it all out, but I know I need room for certain things, which is still brakes, clutch setup, and throttle setup. That's going to be a good one. That's probably next. Chokes are by themselves. I'm not concerned about them. The fuel feed, you crack that loose, and you could spin that sucker right around any direction you want. So I'll shoot them straight up to capture fuel. I might try to run it through the center. But the throttle, here's your throttles up top here, and push down on them or pull up on them, however you want to call it. And I have the rods that kind of lock into these with a little pivot, and you could set them wherever you want in that slot. So if you're trying to match, you know, one's pulling a little harder than the other, you can tweak them. You can slide them up and down and make this motor go a little harder than the other motor. But I gotta make all the pivots set up and all those pieces, you know, how it's gonna come up off a rocker to something to something to something. So I just gotta figure out all those somethings and keep them in mind when I'm doing the other stuff. So hopefully I have enough room, kind of like something right up in here, come up with some kind of pivoting knuckle, you know, and, try to maybe draw a straight line from here to somewhere up here and have some kind of rod transfer while it stays the same when you turn the steering. That's the hard part. But that's enough of that. I'm gonna go in and eat. All right, thanks for watching. Take care.